we're in a period of change, right? And in periods of change, good R&D organizations move from spending more of their time on the D, developing things that are known, answering questions that you know the answer to, and more of their time on the R, which is just basic research, and particularly in our field, user research.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Cards Against Complexity. Today with Adrian McDermott from Zendesk. Adrian, welcome.
Thank you, Jan. How you doing?
Good. Good to have you here, actually, in a tiny house set up at the Zendesk showcase in Berlin. So you made your way all the way here to Berlin.
Berlin, one of my favorite cities in Europe, and also the home of Zendesk's agentic AI agent builders. And so I get out here quite a bit to spend some time with them.
And we've got plenty of people. We can see this maybe a bit in the background at the event today. You released a bunch of new features and actually a resolution platform. We'll talk about this maybe in a second. But before we jump in there, there's been a whole journey taking you here. You've been a few years at Zendesk. Maybe take us and take everyone who's listening in through where did this start? Like, how did you become, I guess, someone technical and a CTO, and then CTO at Zendesk? And would love to see that journey to Berlin today.
I have a computer science background. And I thought that I was going to go do reasonable things in the north of England where I grew up and ended up as an itinerant programmer in Hong Kong and other places, and then in Silicon Valley. And I've done 3 startups, 2 hits and a miss. Zendesk is one of the hits.
Yeah, very obviously, I think, if we look at everything.
I joined Zendesk in 2010. So the company had moved from Copenhagen, and there were about 10 engineers, and there was a couple of the founders that were technical, and I came in to kind of run that team. And as it's grown to 2,500 people, I kind of spent a lot of time just operating that machine and growing it and running the product and everything else. And then in the last 4 years, though, I've transitioned to a different type of CTO role. And I think there is there are 2 models, right? One is internal, one is external. And I went from internal to external.
And so internal, external, that's like coding or building versus customer conversations, I assume. Like, what does that mean for a CTO?
What I do today is really spend a lot of time with customers out on the road doing that primary research, and you have space and time to do that.
No.
I no longer manage the N,000 humans of Zendesk product and Zendesk engineering, which is a great relief and gives you a lot more freedom to think about things and experiment.
Yeah.
And then I also run corporate development, which is the M&A team.
Yeah.
And so we have been pretty busy, and generally the model that we use is, if you buy it, you incubate it or you run it. And so all the companies that we've acquired recently, I've had the joy of kind of operating those for a year and figuring out how to integrate them into Zendesk and be successful. And most importantly, how to get that software in the hands of our customers and make sure that they understand what it's for, how to be successful with it. And it works really, really well with the Zendesk platform.
That's really, really exciting in the current age of AI. I mean, we just saw you on stage right now. I'll jump into this in a second. Before we do that, I mean, this podcast is called Cards Against Complexity for a reason. We've got a deck of cards here. I actually had a sneak peek before. You didn't have that chance. Let me share the screen with you. Okay, we can't. You don't see the open version yet, and I'll have to introduce the game briefly to everyone else who hasn't seen us playing this. So, Cards Against Complexity, a very simple setup. Everyone who knows Cards Against Humanity, on the left-hand side, there's a card. It's a sentence, short sentence, with a gap in there, and that needs completion. So we've got 3 possible answers on the right. They're probably not a perfect fit, but you got to choose one.
Okay.
So let's see what we got here for you. Agent Copilot, that's somehow is a fit for Zendesk, develops human emotions. That's a step forward. And it asks for a team offsite where it can meet the other microservices. The respect it deserves as the only one who reads the full ticket history, or annual PTO.
Interesting set of options. I think there is a thing that we talk about with AI agents, right? It's like they never get tired. They never need time off. They're available 24/7. But I'm drawn to a team offsite where it can meet other microservices, right? more and more, we talk about collection of expert models being dominant in artificial intelligence. Like it isn't one size fits all. There are like specific agents for everything, right? I think when I first heard of that model, someone described it as 7 raccoons in a raincoat pretending to be one person, right? And I think I don't, an agent co-pilot meeting all the other microservices at an offsite sounds right to me.
And it sounds a bit like a showcase today. I mean, that's almost an event I would love to be part of. I don't know what language they speak. I mean, there's these funny videos and thoughts about which language they develop themselves and how they might shortcut what we thought was efficient speaking. That's a whole different topic to get into, but I think one that probably as a CTO right now in this day and age is one that you can't get around. So Zendesk, I mean, customer service is at the forefront of AI development, deployment. What does it mean for you as a CTO, this new era of AI, not only the switch from internal to external, but I guess at the same time, this whole AI shift?
What I'm really enjoying right now is that we're in a period of change, right? And in periods of change, good R&D organizations move from spending more of their time on the D, developing things that are known, answering questions that you know the answer to, and more of their time on the R, which is just basic research, and particularly in our field, user research, right? What is it companies, customers, experience builders, journey mappers, what are they looking for in terms of service, and do they know? And then can we, I think, set the tone? When I joined Zendesk in 2010, I think I didn't realize it at the time, but one of the really revolutionary things about Zendesk was that when you configured it out of the box, it was web try buy, right? We had 5,000 customers, no salespeople. And when you turned it on, you set up your Zendesk. It included 8 triggers and an automation that basically showed you how to do world-class email support in the way that the biggest organizations did. We kind of take that for granted today, but I think it's important to do that. I think there isn't yet the 8 triggers and an automation implementation for how to do AI agent automation, or how to do what co-pilots will end up being. Is it more of a bot that you interact with as an agent? Is it something that actually is more like the world's greatest autocomplete? Is it something that is really just turning the human into a supervisor? So many questions, so much research. And I think, one of the things I tell my team, or we joke about, is that, Windows Mobile thought it was the mobile revolution, right? There was there was a start button and you were basically replicating Windows on the phone. I'm convinced in generative AI, in customer service, and in other fields, we're just building Windows Mobile for CX on AI, and we're going to figure out what the real applications are in the next few years. So that means research, listening, agility, and openness of ideas, and that's what we're focused on.
Yeah. There's a beauty in there where research and development go so quickly together. Like, how do you think about that whole speed, and getting the same speed that the market has right now into your organization? And as a CTO, I know it's not your team anymore, but I guess the whole organization, from engineering all the way through sales, almost needs to change or adapt on a weekly basis these days, right? It must be really, really hard at the size of a Zendesk.
Yeah, I mean, in the last couple of years, we've acquired probably 3 companies that were ostensibly AI-based in the way that they worked, whether that was auto QA and it having a mechanism to read every ticket, or that was actual formal AI agents and implementations, or the ability to, with a company we acquired in Lisbon, Portugal, Cleverly, the ability to sort of recognize intents in every ticket and handle classification. And I think part of the way we've been generating velocity in our development is by acquiring bandwidth. Another thing that we've been doing, we've massively increased our footprint in terms of AI engineers. And third, I think it's just really having, I think, what you could call a learning mindset, and being ready to build and pivot and move really quickly, and take risks, frankly. Like we launched our outcome-based pricing, and we're ready to disrupt ourselves, right? I think this is clearly going to be a crossing the chasm moment for a lot of SaaS software vendors. And I think, the most important thing you're doing when you're kind of in that cross, if you don't want to be disrupted by new incumbents, is disrupt yourself. And so I think we're embracing that. That's why it's just fun to keep going and keep driving, because there's a new model, there's a new capability, there's a new insight almost every week. I just took 2 weeks off, actually, and then I was just playing catch up on my realm of podcasts. I'm like, oh my god, so much amazing stuff, so much to do.
Gotta add this one to your list. We'll add a subscription link to the post for everyone else as well. But going away from your role, you're speaking to many CTOs as well in your conversations with customers. If you're taking the other side, learning from how you're at the forefront of developing AI, what's your advice for CTOs in organizations, retail organizations, financial services organizations that I guess struggle with this even more because they're not tech first? They've got a small tech team. How do they get AI into customer service, but also into the enterprise as a whole?
I think the most important thing is to work back from the problem that you are trying to solve. Right. I think what we have at the moment is just this incredible set of tools. But at the same time, right, I think I love Benedict Evans's analysis of ChatGPT, which is like it is the equivalent of the C:* greater than MS-DOS prompt. Right? You have to then create your application and experience on top of it. And we know it's a revolution and we're faced with it. Right. And so then it's kind of, where I think structures are forming at the moment, like the Copilot structure and the AI agent structure and the insights QA structure are forming in customer service. I think for our customers, then I love them to have, and I want them to have these sort of realistic goals for AI, which are first and foremost directed at creating better experiences or more efficient experiences for their customers.
Yeah.
And I think, that begins in my mind with implementing RAG-based search with like simple automation that isn't an escape room from which you cannot get out, that is actually like a useful, warm triage handoff from well-constructed journeys, well-constructed automation, and, well-constructed tools for agents. There are so many things that can be deployed and built, but the basics remain. In customer service, if you don't have access to APIs to retrieve information and solve a lot of the problems, you're behind. If you don't have well-documented knowledge and a set of processes and procedures and some modicum of self-service documented knowledge, you're really going to struggle. Like AI isn't going to solve those problems for you, right? You have to, the basics are still the basics, unfortunately. There are no shortcuts in life.
At an enterprise scale, I mean, this is now no shortcuts, right? And now, if we think about customers, like a joint customer of ours, like 40,000 people, huge retail organization, I want to drive this kind of change. I'm starting maybe in customer service because it's working. I've got the problem set up. I'm using technology like Zendesk that's applying this. How do you think about driving this end to end through an enterprise? Because that's going further. Like, I mean, you're talking about the resolution revolution, resolving tickets really end to end and customer queries end to end. What's required to get that end to end resolution done?
I think you begin diving into the data, right? And the data is going to tell you where has all the time been spent, or where is the greatest frustration being generated, right? Pick your metric, right? How am I annoying my customers the most, or how am I grinding too much agent time or customer time? Whatever it is, it's going to tell you the contact reasons that need work.
Yeah.
And those contact reasons may require fixes in your business. They may require fixes in agent tooling. They may require automation and agents, or a combination of those three. But I think knowing that the outcome is an immediate return on investment, and the outcome is probably an increase in CSAT and a reduction in cost, is a huge motivator, right? And so I think I like us to be, when we can work with a customer, to establish, a set of really clear goals for how they want to begin transforming their business. And then it's, you're basically creating a methodology that they can follow when you leave and continue down the path, automating contact reason by contact reason or augmenting contact reason by contact reason for agents and just creating experience after experience and hopefully measuring along the way to make sure that they're meeting their business goals.
So lots about data. I mean, that's not going away in the age of AI. Your party of microservices is not going away. Actually, adding our agent to that on offsite would be really nice. I mean, we saw so much of your journey to this date and Zendesk journey in this AI era. If somebody else is coming, like a young Adrian is coming to you, right? Like I don't know, many years ago, I guess, and is asking you, what's your piece of advice if I want to lead a tech organization one day, if I want to build a career in tech that's going through engineering all the way to a CTO role? Like, what would be your advice where should they invest into, especially these days, I guess, with AI everywhere and probably people confused where they should spend their time?
I have a son that just graduated from college, actually, and so it's just something I'm thinking about a lot. And another one in college, and I think we should plan our journeys based around what we enjoy. Firstly, what we think we're good at, and then the future continues to be like the past, in my opinion, from a software and builder point of view. It's work back from the user, figure out what problem you're trying to solve, and then leverage the technology to do it. And don't get emotionally connected to a particular solution or a particular platform. I think when we spend too long on a thing, whether it's Ruby on Rails or Java implementation, or, we become
an old PHP somewhere.
Yeah. I never connected to that. But when we get too connected to a thing, I think we stop working back from the user. We stop thinking about value. But I mean, the biggest, the things that sustain me, I think, are a learning mindset. Like I want to learn things every day and enjoy that process and enjoy being wrong. Secondly, for me, is daily rituals. I have very poor discipline, and so recently my rituals have been, it's quite easy actually to not do a task with a generative AI tool and to just do it yourself. But you will find you can do it better if you start using generative AI and introduce it everywhere and use it everywhere. And so whether it's vibe coding, which I've recently started doing again and can recommend.
Oh, it's good fun. Good fun. With all kinds of implications that we don't want to talk. But wait, no. It's all going to work. Just put it in production. But there's a whole podcast on that. But great stuff coming there right now in Zendesk, actually in the next matter as well. So that's very exciting.
Yeah. So I think just being open, experimenting, having rituals, and knowing what the user's goal is and what you're trying to build and what problem it solves. If you're creating value, you're creating value. Yeah. And it's a fun journey.
Enjoy the ride, build your rituals, enjoy the journey, and maybe go on a party and offsite with an agent and a few microservices. So what else could there be in life?
I think there are better parties in Berlin. I'm just going to put it out there.
And that's where we are right now. One is happening just behind us. We'll just go back inside, enjoy the rest of the day here at Showcase Berlin. Adrian, thank you so much for joining us today on the podcast. Thank you, everyone, for listening in. Another round of Cards Against Complexity with Adrian McDermott from Zendesk. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Jan. Really appreciate it.